Okie dokie now. There's a hopper. Now in this room, you can see there's a spot right there, and there's a spot right there. And we need to get that there fixed. From smooth wall, which is, I patched the holes, to texture. Also, I'll be hitting this spot, and this line right here, all the way down. You can see that. It's texture here, and nothing right there. All the way down. Drawing up an eyesore. We gotta get that taken care of, don't we, Ricky? Woo! Also, there's this spot right here. This spot right here. This spot right down here. And
that spot right there.
Right there. This is all the stuff that I'm going to be using. The main tool here, the Wagner PowerTex Lock and Go. It's an electric hopper. Okay. And then there's the heat gun, also Wagner. It's a wonderful heat gun. I'll be making a separate video on that here shortly. And the DeWalt drill with this paddle bit on it. A water bottle to mix inside the mud. So I'll put mud inside this pan and then add water to it and mix it up. All we're doing is, and I'll show you the mud that I'll be using. This little sponge, I'll show an in-action video of what I'm doing that here. And these are the different nozzles for the different textures that you want. A larger texture or a smaller texture. I'll be using the black one probably, but maybe the yellow one. We'll see what I end up doing. And that's that. Let me show you guys the mud. Now, I'm at the car, and this is the all-purpose sheetrock mud that I'll be using, straight from Lowe's. You'll take that lid off, and I'll be using this mud knife to scoop it out of there. Okay, and you can see the thickness of that. It's really thick. It's not soupy or nothing. It's very thick, and it's not gonna run through that hopper. So what you're gonna have to do is add water. So I'm gonna take it from there, put it in there, and I'm gonna add some water. How does that sound?
Good.
And then I'm gonna take this drill, and I'm gonna go ahead and mix the water with that inside this pan. So that's what that pan is for. Let me go ahead and get that going. And I'm gonna go around these spots like this. Okay? That's all we're doing, the first thing we're doing after applying the mud and doing the sheetrock work. It's like that. So we're softening the edges from where I did the fix, and we softening it all the way around and smoothing it out so that when we spray the texture, it'll match here to here and there won't be any hard edges around. Okay, so here. Then right here on these big ones, we're just softening the outside edge. And I'll show you guys back once I get this done. That's all I'm going to be doing on the edges right here, all the way around, going back and forth to the sink and softening these edges, okay? Now you can see what I've done is I've wet sponged the edges, and this is looking wonderful, okay? This is smooth to no hard edge to texture, okay? This is the blend, how it should go from the texture to thinning out all that where there's no hard edge, you can see. And then I'll be spraying the texture over to the texture and over this spot, okay? Just like this spot. And these repairs are wonderful repairs. Do not be a little bit discouraged if it doesn't look this good. This is a very, very good job here, okay? And you can see I've sponged all the edges and patched all of these holes, okay? And then these areas also, those areas are ready for me to texture over these areas as well. You can see I filled in those holes, and this is just what it takes, okay, to fix these areas. They're not simple little fixes. You have to first fix the holes, which is gonna get it out over here, which is gonna leave a rough edge, which is why you have to wet sponge that. Texture over to texture, okay? We'll be spraying all these areas as well, okay? And then the other areas that I showed you over in this other room, crossed over here, and I've already repainted the entire house, so these areas are sticking out. You can see there's one right there, there's one right here, and then if I step back, you can see the areas right here which have no texture. Once you get up close, that's what it looks like, okay? So that's why I'm gonna go ahead and spray. I did not do this, by the way. It was already like that when I bought the house. I'm just gonna go into now, since I'm doing all this extra work anyway, from the water lines replacement. I had to replace the water lines here from a slab leak and cut some holes and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going ahead and fixing some of these other areas as well, like these. And I will go ahead and you can see there actually is rough edges. I want to point this out, wanted to point this out to you. That's a rough edge, see? So once I paint, you can see that rough edge all the way around from somebody that just patched the hole. But you can't do that over texture because it leaves these spots which stand out like that. If you guys are watching this video, you probably have similar issues, okay? You want the whole wall to match and you want these places to vanish. So when a tenant comes and tries to do something like this, it's not beneficial in the slightest bit. It just makes it look worse. So throwing that out there, to fix something like this is a very drawn out process, as you see in this video. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the hopper and start fixing these areas, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so what I have here is it's plugged in, and that's all it is. Now this bucket, this gun that sits right here, this has a nice thing to set on your arm so it's not so heavy. And I have the black spray nozzle, which is the smallest one. And this is a knockdown texture. You can see the wall is still wet. And this hopper, it spins around. So if you're spraying the ceiling, this whole thing spins around. But when you're spraying the walls, this is perfectly fine. I'm going to shake it a little bit, turn it on. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually cleaning. You can see you want to put some strainers in there. It's okay if a little bit gets in the sink, but you don't want to be dumping a bunch of mud down your sink, okay? So keep an eye on that. I'm also got the water inside this bucket, so that can be setting with the mud knife and this thing here, and I scrubbed a little bit here and there. And then you're going to want to run this under the water. So you're going to literally put this under the kitchen sink like this and run water through it with the trigger down, and you'll see water flowing out the end of that. So you'll know that that's getting cleaned, and you can see there's actually mud in there. I'm going to have to give this a more deeper clean. It comes with a brush to clean that, or you can use something else, whatever you need to get that clean, and soak that in some water, and it'll make it easier to clean up. Okay, but in the meantime, I cleaned this as well, and you're just getting the bulk cleaned, and then you're going to need to keep moving because we have a lot more work to do. And right now I'm going to take this thing, this little tool right here. This is a knockdown texture tool. Okay, and I also got this at Walmart, but you can get them online. Actually, I think I got this online on Amazon. Okay, and now you're going to see I have these areas, they look like this, and you're going to take this knockdown texture tool after you get done cleaning your stuff and get a little clean on that. Let this dry for about 15 to 20 minutes. It's only been about 10 minutes, so I'm going to let this dry a little bit longer. Matter of fact, if I can find a spot, you can see it starts to turn white, so it's not really ready yet. So I'm gonna let this dry a little bit longer. Let's go check our other spots in here. You can see that one over there is kind of turning white, okay? Those areas that are slightly white, okay, this is still a little bit too wet, but let that dry just a little bit longer, and then I'll take this knockdown texture tool here in about 5 or 10 minutes, and I'll go like that, and you'll be knocking down all those high edges. If there's any high edges, you're gonna, let me use my other hand here, and I'm gonna try to give you a little example. This one's kind of almost ready, and you're gonna be taking this like this, and gently, ever so gently, going like that, and you can see how that knocks down those areas, just a little bit like that, okay, if you can see. Now that's gonna look marvelous once this dries. I don't need to do anything else here, but we're gonna wait for this to dry a little bit longer, and that's what we'll be doing. You can already see those areas are starting to blend in and look like texture, and they'll be vanished. You can see the difference here and there. Okay, now keep in mind, pay attention to your wall that's already there. This wall has not really been knocked down. This is a knockdown texture, but they didn't really knock it down all that much. So I'm gonna ever so slightly be running over just on the little higher spots. Okay, like for instance, that's a higher spot. Now you're gonna wanna let that dry. That's not ready yet. And you'll give that a little knockdown just to kind of make it leveled out with the others, okay? And you can see right here, so there's just one little area right there. Once I drag this through, it'll go away. Another thing is you want to keep in mind, you're going to take your little wet sponge, and every couple of minutes, literally every couple of minutes, you're going to be using this, knocking down those high spots. Take your sponge and clean the edge of this off. You're going to be cleaning the edge of this off every minute or two so that you're not dragging crusties through that, okay? Now, like I said, once again, I'm going to let this dry for about 10 to 15 more minutes, and I'll show you guys what that looks like as I'm going around doing that. How's that look?
Good.
You think that looks nice?
Yeah.
Does it match the rest of the wall?
Look, guys. Here's the wall right now. It looks like this right
Now,
now.
once it dries up a little bit more, it'll match just like the rest. Come over here and video close up on those areas for us. You don't have to zoom in too much. There you go. Now, see, I'm going to show you these two. I hit all these and knock these down, but you can see how wonderful, guys. I mean, this is expert level here, okay? From your landlord down, yep, in small town Oklahoma. Woo! First place, your first or your last, Rick. Look at that. You can't get something like that. I mean, would you just look at that?
Look at that, guys.
Just look at it.
Wow.
Would you see it? You wouldn't believe it if I didn't done showed you. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Woo! You wouldn't believe it if I done did show you. You just wouldn't believe it, would you?
Yeah.
No, I didn't show you. Okay. How's it looking? Wonderful. Wonderful. It ain't even painted yet and it's vanished. 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 Woo! Now, there's a little bit of overspray here, so you're going to want to sponge that tonight before you leave, okay?
Yeah.
You don't want to let that set overnight. It'll be that much harder to clean. Same thing with this here, the outlet plug. Good. So here it is painted. You can see those holes have vanished, and you can see that texture. It's looking really nice. I actually scrubbed that and that, but I forgot to scrub this light fixture. But you can see that texture, okay? And you can see how that turned out. I'm trying to go kind of slow so you can see it clearly. But this is how that texture turned out, and you knock it down with that tool. You'll have to sponge things like this, but that's the wall now that all those holes are gone, okay? And over here, these areas are gone, and there was an area, I think, right up here, okay? There was this area right here in the hall, okay? And then I believe there was an area, these areas right here, okay? Right there, okay? You can still kind of see those areas drying. But anyway, you can see the texture, okay? It blends right in perfectly. Also, there was this area right here, still drying a little bit, but it's gonna blend right in as well, okay? That spot was a little bit, I had to drag that spot a little bit too much, but it's okay, nobody will ever notice that. Okay, so anyway, these areas right here, there's an area right over here, all right, and you can see that texture gun works wonderful. You're gonna be able to hide all your areas, all those bad spots if you have a textured wall. You can paint over those, you might have to paint them twice. But anyway, you can see how that all turns out. I hope this video was helpful in some way. Like this video if it was helpful. Subscribe to the channel if you like home improvement videos. And I will see you guys next time.